And hello once more, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 9 of a Druids Dozen. Yeah, and I've learnt to count this week. Yeah, I just basically take a dozen albums from my record collection and talk about them. Yeah, I'll introduce myself if you don't know. My name's John. I'm a radio DJ. I've got a couple of radio shows. I've been doing radio DJing for years. I've got a couple of shows going at the moment. There's the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM Radio 93.2 FM in Bristol, and then there's the Rock Druid Show on astroradio.earth, which is a internationally renowned music and science based station. But anyway, yep, 12 albums once more, hooks from the rack. Got to talk a little bit about each one of them, and yeah, see what you think. Okay, kick off with this one. Come on, come to Johnny. Better put the old bins on as well, haven't I? Yeah. Right. Here we go. Can you see that one, ladies and gentlemen? There's the front. It is, of course, Nightlife by Thin Lizzy. There's the back. And oh yeah, interesting point to note, this is a fairly early pressing, not the earliest pressing, but it's got the Vertigo swirl in a sleeve and what's known as the Dean label there, which is label designed by for Vertigo Records by Roger Dean. I don't think this is a UK pressing. Well, it says made in England, so maybe it is. Yeah, I thought this was an import, but obviously not. Now, what can I tell you about Nightlife, Thin Lizzy? Well, it's the first album they did when they started. Once they break, sort of like getting interest, because Lizzie by this time had already had a. Sort of like their first big hit with Whiskey in the Jar, but basically 1973, the original Thin Lizzy lineup, which included Eric Bell on guitar, basically Eric Bell left. They replaced him with Gazza Moore for a bit, and then decided that they needed two guitarists, not one. They brought in Brian Robertson, and we were talking about last week with when we were talking about Motorhead's Another Perfect Day, and American guitarist Scott Gorham, and the classic twin guitar Thin Lizzy kind of thing was born. Apparently, I've been told by Martin Turner, the Wishbone Ash bass player, that just before they had the lineup change, Lizzy was supporting Wishbone Ash, and Phil Lynott was talking to the Wishbone Ash guys at great length about the possibility of twin guitars. So yeah, maybe it's the Wishbone Ash influence that came through here. But anyway, it marks it's a bit of a transition on the album. It's not as kind of psychedelic and kind of blues rocky as those first three Eric Bell based albums, but this isn't quite your kind of full-blown, Johnny the Fox, Boys Are Back in Town, classic Lizzy. It's kind of, this is the album that kind of bridges between the two. It's a great album. Highlights on here include, obviously, Still in Love with You is the classic one, which which features a Gary Moore guitar on here. Gary Moore played in a couple of tracks on here and then left and was replaced. So there's actually three guitarists on here: Morsey, Robertson, and Gorham. Then you got kind of there's other tracks like Frankie Carroll. Nightlife, which almost kind of hail back to almost the Shades of Blue Orphanage album from a couple of years earlier. Yeah, I've got to admit, it's not my favourite Lizzie album. I do find it a bit directionless in places, but as a kind of mark of what was to come, it's a worthy addition to the Lizzie canon. Okay, Nightlife, Thin Lizzy. 1974, I think. Yeah, 74. Okay, next up, going to come a bit up to date. We'll have this one. It is Get Your Hands Dirty by Jettblack. There's the front. There's the back. And I shall pop it open. There's nothing behind the disc, but there is a substantial booklet in here. Come on out. Yeah, there's the front of the booklet again. Pictures of the guys from Jettblack, kind of in what looks like a large bucket of paint or an oil slick, getting down and dirty with each other. Pictures of them, and yeah. Now Jettblack. Now, if I remember rightly, now if I get this wrong, I apologise. Like I said, I try and do these without notes to try and keep my old brain matter ticking over, so errors in information may keep in. But I think these guys are from Milton Keynes. If they're not from Milton Keynes, I apologise for these guys for accusing them of being from Milton Keynes. But Milton Keynes is probably the ugliest town in Britain, by the way, if you're listening from outside the UK. It's a concrete wilderness. But anyway, I came across Jettblack. Went down to see Winger, one of my guilty pleasure bands, a few years ago. Had a lovely chat with Kip Winger when I was down there, but that's a different story. And anyway, one of the support bands that night was Jettblack, and they were damn good. They impressed me that much because I do like watching support bands, because I've been surprised on quite a few occasions. I went out, I brought a couple of albums. I don't know how many they've got. I picked up 2 that night, of which this is one. And yeah, it's quite a good record. It's that kind of not quite metal enough to be metal, but when it comes to sort of like heavy rock, it is a bit on the heavier side. It's a way of describing it. Anyway, got some great tracks on here. Motherfucker, Get Your Hands Dirty, Not Even Love, Fall by a Rose, Step on It, Too Hot Girl, Sleep, Innocence Is Mine. It just rocks along. There's some great guitar work on here. I can't remember the name of the guitarist, but his, the guitars are on form, the vocals are hot. It kind of, like I said, if you're into bands like Winger, I'm trying to think of some other ones, it's sort of like FM, maybe, heavier side of FM, Praying Mantis, those kind of bands, you'll probably enjoy this. Yeah, Get Your Hands Dirty by Jettblack. I can't remember when this one came out, a couple of years ago, put it that way. 2010, 10 years ago. But anyway, band is still going, and they got 7 other albums out besides this one and the one that I've got, so give them a check, you may enjoy. Okay, next up, we're going to go a bit krautrock. Now, those of you that don't know, krautrock was kind of like a German musical movement. Late 60s, it was kind of sort of the German equivalent of space rock or psychedelia or the early prog. And yeah, because some of the bands that came out of there gone on to be quite famous, like Eloy, and Scorpions are probably the biggest. But there were some other cracking bands around on that scene, including this lot. Yeah, this is Jane, and the album is Jane 3. There's the front. There's the back. There's the gatefold. I'll do it across like that. Yes, gatefold sleeve. Lots of pictures of Jane. Yeah, now this is a good one. This is a pretty good one. It's well, I say it's very krautrock. There's yeah, this is pretty archetypal as far as krautrock goes. That's what I'm trying to say. It's kind of got that heaviness of some of the sort of later 70s Scorpions, but it does kind of got a fair few hat sits towards the more trippy psychedelic kind of vein. Great musicianship on here. There's Klaus Hess, who's the lead guitarist, who's you know, the guy's a demon, put it that way. You got cut as well as he also does. I think you got the Carly Muncher, who's the bassist and vocalist. Distinctive voice. He's got that kind of guttural Germanic, Teutonic kind of snarl to it, without making it sound menacing like a lot of German bands can. Without, not their fault. It's just the way the German accent sounds when it's sung. But yeah, some cracking tracks on here. It opens up with a 9.5-minute cut called Coming Again. Just cracking track. And then there's Mother You Don't, Jane's Session. Rock and Roll Star is probably my favourite cut on here. And it's everything that piece of crap Oasis song isn't. It's just a great hard rock track. Yeah. Jane's stuff's normally pretty hard to find in the UK. This is the only album I've got on physical format. I've got a couple of others on MP3, but you know, yeah, but you can import it from the States. And Jane were kind of one of these bands that were kind of, they were quite successful in Germany. Never really got the breaks they deserved beyond. So you know, you might have to go to Deutschland for it, but you can get your hands on Jane stuff pretty easy. Recommend this one. It's pretty good. Okay, next up, you reaches for a CD, and we got just a little EP that I fished out for you. There's the front. Not apologise, someone's written all over it. Yeah, it's autographed. I know the band. And there's the back. Yeah, not much else to say. I mentioned a couple of episodes ago about a band called Zoltan Speaks, who were Album of the Year award winners on BCFM a few years back. And, well, they fell apart not long after that album came out. And a couple of them, you got Tom the drummer and the lovely Louise Brody, the vocalist there. Bodie, not Bodie. Gone on to kind of this is the band they put together. Pretty Little Enemy, and this is the Bitch Please EP. Now, this is very much kind of contemporary alternative metal. You've got, on here you've got sort of elements of maybe Shinedown, Skillet, those kind of bands, you know, those big American kind of odd, not your kind of Lamb of God bands, but your more mainstream American kind of alternative metal bands, you know. And believe me, though, in that kind of music, this is one of my favourite EPs kind of thing, even though it's nothing to do with the Americans. It's just a cracking little track. It's high energy, it's in your face, it's irreverent, and just superbly played. Louise Brody's vocals are to die for. You've got also Georgina Bell, the great lady guitarist on here. She can riff like a bitch, and you know, Jason, just complete this. Jason Coles, Ben Dean, the rhythm section. We're going to be talking about Ducks Anuses again. They're that type. Only 3 tracks: Miles, Vertebrake, and What Makes You. Can't pick a favourite because they're all damn good. I don't know whether these guys have got anything else out. I know they're still technically together because they were gigging right up until lockdown, but this EP came out 2016. I think there may be some more recent stuff. But yeah, give them a Google and find out. And once again, I apologise that I can't play any of these tracks for you, or any snippets, algorithms, etc. But anyway, that's what search engines are for. Go and have a listen for yourself. Okay, next up, we'll have another bit of vinyl. and new wave of British heavy metal time. Yeah, Spider, rock and roll Jitsies. There's the front. There's the back. And no, there's no inner sleeves or anything on this one. Now, what can I say about Spider? Now, I think these were from Yorkshire, or maybe, was it Derby? Anyway, somewhere kind of Midlands to up north, somewhere like that. And these guys, 4-piece boogie metal band. You know, whereas kind of, you know, you got the, people think when you have a British heavy metal and you think your Maidens and your Saxons and think you got a handle on the sound. Then you come across a band like Spider. I was talking about this with Bardis last week. They were kind of owe more to Status Quo, this lot owe more to Status Quo and Slade than they do to Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. And there's nothing wrong with that. In my younger days, I was a massive Status Quo fan until they betrayed me. More about bands that betray you later. But anyway, so this lot, no nonsense, straight down the line, heavy boogie outfit. You got two brothers, Rob E on drums and his brother Brian on bass. There was a guy called Sniffer who can't remember his proper name, but he was the lead guitarist, and he was quite good at it. And then there was Colin Harkness, who was the vocalist. Did 3 albums back in the day. Every one a kind of worthy slice of hard rock and boogie. This is the first one. Not my favourite, I'll admit. I prefer their second one, Rough Justice, but hey, this is the one that came out the racks today. But, you know, this album's not kind of without merit. You got tracks like AOL, Did You Like It, Baby, What You Doing To Me, Rock and Roll Will Forever Last, all the time. Just talking about rock and roll. Yeah, part of the legend. Yeah, it just boogies. You know, it's got that, it's got dum da 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 da. Yeah, all the way through. Head down, bang your head until your carpet's knee deep in dandruff kind of stuff. Yeah, shame they never really got beyond the kind of cult status Spider. But, you know, hey, they left behind them a couple of great albums. I salute them for it. Spider, Rock and Roll Gypsies, from 1982. Bloody hell, I feel old. Okay, next up, we're going to have one that's going to make some people go, no! But anyway, Sodgers, I like it. Yeah. Black Veil Brides set the world on fire. Now, before you say anything, I used to be like you. I saw pictures of the Black Veil Brides and went, bloody hell, bunch of Kiss clones. You know, what's kind of nothing original about them. Then I met the lady that's now my partner, and she turned out to be a bit of a BBB fan. Although we were seeing each other for a little bit before this album came out, she was the one that when sort of like Black Veil, we used to listen to Krang Radio a lot, and yeah, she was the one that was telling me, you know, Black Veil Brides, and in the end I kind of decided to actually give them a listen and look beyond the makeup, the image and the hype and the kind of trendy to hate kind of thing band that was going around. And believe me, I ate my words big time. I got all those words that I once said about the Black Veil Brides, put them on a plate, cooked in a frying pan, cooked them up with some spaghetti and meat and applesauce, and swallowed them whole, because they were a great band. I say were, I know they're still going, but I'll come to that in a minute. Their first 3 albums, which apparently lead vocalist Andy Biersack had sketched out from the moment he formed the band, when he started getting the right people involved, is they form a kind of trilogy. You got the first album, Stitch These Wounds, which is having a reissue coming up soon, re-recorded coming up soon. very teen angst, very kind of almost emo kind of thing. Then you've got this one, Set the World on Fire, which is a very triumphal kind of hard rock album. It's full of anthems and air punchers and lighter wavers and that kind of thing. Then you got the third album, The Wretched and Divine, which is kind of a very mature album, as the band's almost grown up. Sadly, after that, they seem to have run out of ideas, and the last couple of albums they brought out have been complete and utter shite. But, you know, given their due, they've left, in my opinion, 3 great albums behind them. And, you know, I have trouble picking between the 3, so today I'll get bringing you this one. So there's the front. There's the back. If I pop this open. Yeah, behind you've got this little picture behind the inner sleeve, nothing much to watch. Behind the disc, nothing much to watch. I'll just drop the booklet. And I hasten to add, this is my missus's copy because I've got this digitally because there's no point in having 2 copies in the house. But yeah. Pictures of, there's Mr. Beersack. There's Mr. Pitts. There's Jinx, the whatever he is, the other guitarist. Andy Purvey, the bassist. Christian Coma, the drummer. And on here you got lyrics and a little bit of, you know, normal stuff. Now, yeah, you got, when you listen to Black Veil Bride, you got to look beyond the hype, the shock, the hate, and all that kind of thing, and actually analyse what these guys are doing, because what they produced on this album and the one before it and the one after it are 3 really good hard rock albums. Yes, they got the Kiss makeup, but even Kiss didn't invent that. I mean, you got people like Screaming Lord Sutch going back to the 1960s were doing that face paint. Yes, they dabbled in the parent baiting androgyny, but, you know, wasn't Bowie doing that in the early 70s? What about Iggy and the Stooges and all that kind of thing? Yeah, you just, you know, these guys aren't doing anything that that hasn't been kind of standard rock and roll PMRC basing kind of stuff that's been going on for years. And these guys, they can deliver a good song. I mean, on this album, you got the opener, New Religion, Set the World on Fire, Fallen Angels, and they're the first 3 tracks, and each one is a built-in heavy rock, heavy metal. They are a lighter waving anthem. It goes on, you got Love Isn't Fair, God Bless You, Die For You, Rebel Love Song, Youth and Whiskey. Every track on here is just there's a couple of slow ones, but mate, it's a party album this. It's just a good album to let your hair down. I mean, never got to see them live. Every time they played in Bristol, they sold out. And these days, after the last couple of albums, which I've not been that impressed by, I don't know whether I want to go and see them these days. But, you know, I'll always say, and people can slag me off, people are like, oh, you want to slag me off? There's the comments down there, do it. But I will defend this album to my death, because if you give it a listen and put your prejudice aside, this is a good album. Yeah, Black Veil Brides, Set the World on Fire. If you force yourself, you will enjoy. Okay, next up, which will have another CD, and we'll have another EP. There's not much to see on this one. There. It's Psycho Surf Noir, the Halloween limited edition EP by the Sinictones. So there's the front, and there's the disc. It's one of those kind of record type, fake record CD jobs. Now, band I discovered by accident. Bristol's always had a great punk scene, and I play in a punk band myself, a band called Zob. Yeah, we were recording our first album when lockdown happened, and we had no chance to finish it. But anyway, one of which is in a suburb of Redfield. There's a pub called The Lion, Been a bit of a punk venue for ages, and I just went. I had time to kill. I think it was my birthday. I went out for a drink with a couple of mates, and we wandered down the line because we heard a couple of bands playing. Lo and behold, one of the bands on the bill were this lot. Now these are kind of surf rock, psychobilly, horror punk. I can't tell you who's in the band because I haven't got any details on there. Oh yes, I can. You've got Nat Cynic on vocals, Jody Simper on bass, and Simon Cass on drums. They're just great up and dancey boogie rock and roll. This is a 5-track EP. You got Nightmare, 4-track, Nightmare Psychopath, Shed Devil, Road to Hell, and Angel of Despair. Each one's up tempo, it's boppable. If you bands like the Cramps and the Meteors, that's roughly where they're coming from. Yeah, this is available online. The band is still together and still going. Give them a Google, Sinictones, and the Halloween limited edition EP. Yeah, if it's not available physically, it'll be available digitally. Go check them out. Okay, next up we're going to have some vinyl, and we're going to have a dose of prog. There's the front. It's UK by UK. There's the back. And if I pull this out, you've got that lot. There, that's a picture of UK. And flip it over, you have a picture of UK. God, the wit of these guys is unreal. Yeah. Now, let's talk seriously for a minute. UK, they're one of these prog rock supergroups. Did a couple of albums in the late 70s, of which this was the first. Came out in... I'm going to have to have a look inside again. It's 1978. And basically, bit of a super group. Eddie Jobson on violin and keyboards. Eddie Jobson, of course, ex-Curved there. John Wetton on bass and vocals. John Wetton, who made it his career to play in nearly every British prog band he could find. Alan Holdsworth on guitar. Now, I know it's a famous name, but I can't remember who he was with. But it was someone impressive. And finally, Bill Bruford, who did time with both Yes and King Crimson on drums. Yeah, this is pretty good prog. It's, I mean, open up, you got the In the Dead of the Night, which is In the Dead of the Night, The Light of Day, and Presto Vivace and Reprise, which is a kind of three-piece, 3-section, 11-minute long kind of suite of music. Followed up with the 8.5-minute long of 30 Years. More epics with Nevermore on the other side, plus a couple of Alaskan Time to Kill, a couple of shorter tracks, and Mental Medication, which is somewhere in between the two. Yeah, it's kind of very prog. I mean, it's quite fiddly because obviously you've got Eddie Jobson on violin as well as doing keyboards on here. So, but you know, on the other hand, it's kind of, if you're familiar with some of the works of bands like Asia, well, any of the guys these bands have played with, it's pretty atypical of what archetypal, sorry, of what they did. Yeah, nothing more to say. They didn't get the fame they deserved. They did another studio album and a live album, and then I think that's right. But anyway, they kind of called it quits by the early 80s, and then, you know, John Wetton joined Wishbone Ash, and Eddie Jobson went back to reform Curve there. Bill Bruford did some jazz rock fusion project, was it Badger, I think, or something like that. Yeah, but overall, yeah, if you like your prog, this one's pretty good. UK by UK. Okay, reaches the CD, and we're going to stay kind of hippie proggy stuff for now, and we're having a bit of a classic. There's the front. It is, of course, Jurassic Shift by Aldrich Tentacles. There's the back. Oops, a daisy. Broken jewel case. I'll keep meaning to go and get these replaced. Booklet. Live pictures of the Ozrics. And yeah, album credits, etc. Now, those of you that don't know, Aldrich Tentacles, one of Britain's leading psychedelic, acid, space, sort of space rock band. Very much into improvisation, very much into kind of taking loads of hallucinogenic substances and letting the music flow, man. Great band, been going for years. I mean, they came to prominence on the old hippie underground convoy circuit, flogging cassette albums, some of which are really collectible now. Eventually they kind of sold out and went mainstream and started doing stuff for record labels and CD and albums, and not CDs and albums, man. But anyway, yeah, this is probably their best known album. I won't say it's their best, but it's probably their best known album. Got Feng Shui on it, which I think was one of their kind of minor hit singles. But yeah, this is just a great, trippy, laid back, spacey album. The tracks do tend to kind of sound a bit samey after a while and flow into each other, but you know, for most other bands that will be a disadvantage. For Aldrich Tentacles, it's not. It just makes the whole album sound kind of very kind of, yeah, you can stick on a couple of Aldrich's albums and lose days. Seen them live a few times, mainly at the old, you know, I used to be in a band called Beowulf and we were on the old free festival circuit. Ozric used to play a lot of those kind of things. And yeah, and basically very trippy, very hippie. Originally out of Glastonbury, so that should give you some kind of idea where these guys are coming from. So this album was came out in 1993, still very much going, and still very much blowing minds and doing and freaking the man to this day. Yeah, great band, highly recommended if you're into bands like Gong, Hawkwind, Mahavishnu Orchestra, etc. Yeah, great stuff. And this one, at least some Ozrics should be in everyone's collection. Okay, next up we're going to go vinyl, and we're going to go back to New Wave of British heavy metal with this one. There's the front. It's Direct Line by Geordie, sort of harder rockers, Dedringer. There's the back. Just double checking, no, there's no inner sleeve on this. Yeah, album from 1991, the debut of this lot. Now, I'm going to keep mentioning about New Wave of British heavy metal being a broad church and you had bands kind of doing all kinds of things. Well, if Spider were the status quo on New Wave of British heavy metal, and Venom were the black metal merchants of New Wave of British heavy metal, these were the New Wave of British heavy metal's equivalent of Lynyrd Skynyrd. This, in any other, if this had been America and come out of Florida or Alabama or Kentucky, this would be a classic Southern Boogie album. But because they're out of Geordie land, it's just a Southern Boogie influenced New Wave of British heavy metal album. And damn good it is too. It's got all those elements that made New Wave of British heavy metal, made the sort of like make Southern Boogie. It's got the extended twin guitar solos. Got a track on here called Maxine, just absolutely guitar whittle jewels to die for. It's got the kind of rock and roll piano on here, some, you know, really tight vocals and drums and bass, etc. Just a great album. It rocks. One of these ones where there's not really a weak track on here. Opens up with Direct Line. My favourite cut on here is Sunday Driver. It's great lyrics about getting in your car and headed off to the seaside. I mentioned Maxine. She's so fine. She's not ready. She's not ready. She's just not ready for love. Yeah, run away. It just boogies. They went on did a following another album after this, which I haven't got, and I've never actually heard, because this band were never kind of huge. It was one of these ones again, Din Disc Records, one of these fly by night, come and go indie labels. Did a couple of albums and vanished, and you know, product is hard to find. But you know, if you want to track this one down, I think there has been a digital reissue, and it's worth looking out for if you get a chance. So Dedringer, Direct Line, New Wave of British Heavy Metal, Southern Boogie. Okay, next up, we're having another CD. This is Keep Fighting by Void, or as they're now known, Scarlet Rebel. There's the front. There's the back. Little pull-out inlay card. There we are, all signed by the guys. Well, actually, not all, but all the guys. It's signed by the Doyle brothers, which I'll come to in a minute. There's the inner sleeve there. Now, Void, or as they're now known, Scarlet Rebel, come from the town of Llanelli, over there in West Wales. They're a kind of, they're now a 5-piece, but they're a 4-piece band. And if you can imagine some kind of bastard love child of AC/DC and the Stereophonics, that's the best way of putting a hand on. They're just a good old-fashioned hard rock band, basically. Came across them. I got sent, one of the pluggers I work with sent me a copy of their second album, Zero, and I really liked it. It became album of the year, 2010, 2011, something like that. The guys were kind of on tour at the time, and they happened to be floating through Bristol on a night when I was doing a radio show. So I got them to, after they kind of done their slot, dive into the studio, and we had a chat. And we became pretty good mates ever since. They come over and played in Bristol. My band, Alien Stashins, we actually played at the launch party for this album. And yeah, we've been mates. Our paths keep crossing. You know, we find ourselves, even unintentionally find ourselves on the same festival bills, which is always a good laugh when you just walk in, the first thing you see is a load of your mates backstage. But anyway, yeah, but so this album came out in, he says, trying to remember, 2015. And 2015, again, album of the year award winners. This is just a great album. It kicks up. You've got Keep Fighting, Not the One, Forever's Yesterday, In the End, Forever Girl, Where Have You Been. I could rattle off all the tracks in there. Practice Run, Say My Name. Now, what makes Void great is not only are they a superb band of musicians, these guys, I mean, Gary Doyle, the drummer, he kind of brings his sticks down from up here somewhere on every stroke. He's got to be one of the heaviest handed drummers I've ever seen. But he's subtle with it. He knows when to, even though he's got the strength, he knows how to play with verve and subtlety. Wayne Doyle, who's the vocalist, the main songwriter, cracking distinctive voice. I can't describe him as anyone else, but he's just got a voice to die for. Talented git that he is. Not a bad guitarist either. Although, you know, they've got two other guitarists in the band now. Only one of them plays on here. Wayne Espinosa plays on this one, but they got a guy in who's some relation of Pete Townsend. He's his nephew or something, and bassist as well. He's a damn fine player. And these guys can just smith a song that is infectious. It's groovy. It's just well cool. And like I said, this was the last album they did under the name Void. Although they kind of got themselves a new record deal, and they kind of realised that Void, people were having trouble finding them because it was actually spelt V0 ID, and people were having trouble finding them online. So, because they're all good Llanelli Welsh boys, they decided to name themselves Scarlet Rebels after Llanelli Scarlets, their favourite rugby scene, who they're madly supportive of. Can't understand it myself, I don't do rugby, but hey, these guys do. Anyway, they're a lovely bunch of blokes, some of the nicest guys you'll come across. Pleasure to call these guys mates. And yeah, they're a great band, and they're beginning to kind of knock on doors and kick a few doors open, especially with their more recent album, which is Show Your Colours, which is came out under the Scarlet Rebels banner. I know these guys are planning for a massive tour after lockdown, and they've been writing new material as well while they've been locked away. So look out for these guys. I'm not going to say they're going to be huge, although they deserve to be. Me tipping bands to be huge normally condemns them to cult obscurity, so I'm not going to say this about these guys. All I am going to say is that if you go out your way to check out Scarlet Rebels, or in this case Void, you'll find one of Britain's best kept secrets. Yeah, cracking album from a cracking band. Void, keep fighting. And leads us on to my final selection for today. There's the front, and it's signed. Yeah, Whitesnake, ready and willing. There's the front. There's the back. And that's not in this one. No, I've got a couple of Whitesnake albums that have got the original merch sheets in. Before the internet, you used to buy an album, and you would have a pull-out mail order form if you wanted the t-shirts, on pack patches and hats and wristbands and studs and all that kind of sort of like rock category stuff that you used to be able to buy, sort of like from the vans back in the day. You still can, but it was harder back then. We didn't have the internet. Now, Whitesnake, proper Whitesnake, not poodle hair metal David Coverdale piece of travesty that is modern day Whitesnake. I do not like modern Whitesnake. Nothing against the guys in the band, with a possible exception of Mr. Coverdale, but you know, because they're fine players, but they don't sound like Whitesnake. And I know times changed and I'm stuck in the mud, but you know, when I love the band as much as I love this lot, I can kind of feel betrayed. They were like a lover that left me, and never apologised. Now, to me, Whitesnake always were one of the great blues rock bands. Their whole sound was built on four key elements. You had Coverdale's distinctive kind of very blues-dripped vocals. You had the twin guitar interplay between Mickey Moody and Bernie Marsden. You had John Lord's wailing Hammond, and then you had the bass of Neil Murray working with Ian Pace. That was what made those are the four elements that made Whitesnake. Remove any of them, you wouldn't have Whitesnake. Unfortunately, Coverdale removed 3 of the 4 elements, the other one not being himself, so therefore you've not got Whitesnake since about 1983, in my opinion. But anyway, I could bang on for ages about how much I hate Whitesnake, and if I drag out one of the later albums, or I do have a couple of them in my collection, I'll do about it then. But let's talk about the love of what the classic Whitesnake. One of my favourite albums. It's a 3-way tie between this one, Love Hunter, and Come and Get It as to which my opinion the best Whitesnake album is. This is the one I dragged out today. Let's have a look. It opens up with Fall for Your Loving, the original version with the Hammond. Not the widdly, squeaky harmonic guitar version of the, I'm going there again, mustn't go there again, calm down, breathe deep. Yeah, and it just goes on from there. Sweet Talker, Ready and Willing, Carry Your Load, Live Man, Flip It Over, you got Ain't Gonna Cry No More, Love Man, Black and Blue, She's a Woman. Everyone's a winner, baby, and You know, it makes you dance. Ain't Gonna Cry No More today is a kind of gutsy, heartfelt, you know, speaks from the soul track. You know, she's a woman, praise to the females of the species. Carry your load, I'll carry your load down. A song of friendship and buddyisms and that. Everything is just, it's great on this album. It is. Saw them live on the tour, saw Whitesnake, proper Whitesnake live a few times back in the day. Were never disappointed live. Refused to go and see. I'll tell you, when the 1987 album came out, I gave it a listen and then thought, nah. And the more I hear after that, the less I want. But I'd always treasure the fact I can go back to listen to albums like Trouble, Love Hunter, this one, Come and Get It, love it, Slide It In, and what's the other one? Saints and Sinners. Chuck in a couple of live albums they did back in the day, and I can happily live in that part of the past and ignore the fact that Whitesnake are still going and betraying them, besmirching the names to this day. So yeah, if you want to hear proper Whitesnake, ignore everything off 1987. Get the early albums. This is as good a place to start as any. Play them loud and love them. They're brilliant, simply brilliant. Like I said, always been a massive fan of the Mickey Moody, Bernie Marsden guitar pairing. Had a great privilege of meeting both the guys on a couple of occasions together at one point when they had the Moody and Marsden band. I'm on the Moody and Marsden live album, you know. Yeah, I'm the one that's shouting SOS in the front row. But anyway, that's another story. But anyway, proper Whitesnake, classic Whitesnake, brilliant Whitesnake. Go get. So, that's it. 1980, 81 this album? 1980, yeah. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed. Remember, if you want to kind of agree or disagree with anything I say, or give your own opinion or feedback on the albums if you heard them. If you're on YouTube, comments and that down there. Also, yeah, and say Facebook as well. Comments are normally going to be over there. And same for the details of both your radio shows. Down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and share. And if you want to hear when these come out, there's a subscribe button as well. So, that's it for this week. Until next week, peeps, I love every single last ones of you. Keep record collecting, and I'm out of here. Bye. Oh yeah, today's t-shirt, Bath punk band, The Blunders. Yeah, see you later, guys.